Thank you, Rachel. Well, like what Rachel was saying, unfortunately, this is our last session together. I am heartbroken. I don't know what I will do without you guys, but I have so much fun doing these sessions. I'm so grateful that I've been able to see so many of you each week. Some people have popped in, once a week, and I'm sure there might be a few people in here today where this is their first week. So thank you for being here, for your presence. And it's just been such a joy. I just want to start by saying that. So for starters, today we are really just going to culminate with everything we have talked about over the past 3 weeks. The goals for today are really to take the lessons from the past 3 weeks and turn them into less of 3 separate lessons and more into one big picture of how stress works in the body and how you can manage your stress. Alrighty. So our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about stress in the body generally. We're going to go through the 3 main categories for stress management techniques. As always, we are going to end with an experience in hypnosis for stress management. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I always forget this part. Just kidding. I have to introduce myself. Hello, I'm Emma Ehrenzeller. I'm so happy you're here today. I am a certified life coach and certified consulting hypnotist with the National Guild of Hypnotists. And if you've been here the past few weeks, you probably already heard this, but I'll just say it again for anyone new. My passion in my work is to help people be happier being themselves. Now, this takes a lot of different forms. I do workshops like this, teaching people how to manage their stress, cultivate emotional wellness, things like that. I work one-on-one with people, helping them build a sense of self-confidence, inner peace, whatever it may be. I do a lot of different work to help people really get back to who they are and who they want to be and feel deeper happiness and peace because of it. And it's been so fun connecting the dots between science, inner peace, self-help in this 4-week program with you all, and to be continuing it and ending it today. So let's start with the most basic building block. What is stress? So stress is the body's response to physical, mental, or emotional pressure. And the big thing that I want to emphasize here to really ring through so that you guys can take it with you is stress is something that's happening in the body, right? When we've learned about stress in the past, a lot of it has focused, at least in my education, I think what you see more broadly in stress conversations, it's a little bit more focused on the mental symptoms, right? The racing thoughts, the feelings of worry, those kind of things are what we normally associate with stress. And so sometimes our coping mechanisms are also very mental. In reality, however, stress is something that's very much happening in the body. And understanding this is very core to understanding how to actually alleviate stress in the body, because that's where it's really taking hold and having mental symptoms, but not normally mental causes. All right. So there are 2 types of stress to be mindful of. There is acute stress and chronic stress. So acute stress is going to arise from something like, if you remember week 2, we talked about being chased by a lion, right? And our whole metaphor example there. That would be an acute stressor, right? Even though it would be highly stressful, it's something that's short term that can be handled and managed essentially within that moment, whether it's within a few minutes or a few days. It's acute. Chronic stressors are going to weigh on a person in a longer term kind of manner. So a chronic stressor might be social or political unrest, right? Living in a pandemic, living with a chronic illness, right? Having financial difficulties. These are things that can't necessarily be, managed and fixed as quickly and might have, effects that last for a few weeks or a few months in a more chronic type way. Now, when we think of chronic stress, 2020 was a huge year for chronic stress for a lot of people. Obviously, there was the pandemic, a lot of political things happening, right? You don't need me to explain that 2020 was stressful. But if it is interesting, I do want to kind of point out that research again we talked about in week 1. They actually found, Gallup, which is a polling organization, they do an annual review of like the global emotions across the world. They found that stress went up 5 percentage points in 2020, which is the biggest jump in stress that they've ever had. And it also made it the most stressful year on record. So just to validate, it was very stressful. But what you see here in this diagram, I know it's a little bit small, but this is just where they outline which countries had significant increases in stress. And we see that the United States was one of those countries here in that green. And when we think about chronic stress, 2020, there was a lot happening. So stress was already increased. But America culturally already has some factors that increase stress levels as opposed to, European countries, Latin countries, African countries, other places. So in America, there's a lot more of a focus on work and honestly like finances and money. So you see a lot more people getting burnt out, working long hours. And another part of this is, with longer work hours, there's also less time with family, with friends, socializing. And as we've been talking about, that social time for so many different reasons is so core to minimizing stress. So I share all of this just to validate, if even before 2020, stress already just kind of felt like a day-to-day part of your life. American culture, is kind of known for being extra stressful as opposed to other cultures that have more built-in social time or less of, a fixation with work. Public health officials actually have termed chronic stress an epidemic in the United States. As a side note, I studied public health in college, and the stress epidemic was one of the biggest topics within my education. So I just like to bring that up to validate that we live in a rather stressful society, but you can also manage it. So I want to outline two separate things which often get jumbled together: stress and stressors. So we know that stress is what's happening in the body, and stress is basically what's happening in the body when we notice a stressor. So a stressor is going to be any kind of trigger which can be in the external or the internal environment, which activates the stress response cycle. Now, stressors can be external or internal. That means they can be something in our outside environment, something interpersonal with a friend, with a colleague, with work, or it can be in our internal environment, right? It can be worrisome thoughts about the future. It can be replaying old memories. Different things like that can also activate the actual feeling of stress in our body. So let's outline the kind of 3-point process of stress in the body now. So we call this the stress response cycle. This is the overall biological process in the body of noticing a stressor, responding to it, and coming back into a sense of safety. So I have it here in a little triangle for you so you can more easily see. Every week I've been doing this. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I just keep making a little triangle with my fingers. So I figured I would just make one in a little diagram here. Stress response cycle starts with a stressor, and then the fight or flight response is activated, okay? Fight or flight basically means that your body notices some kind of stressor and it decides that it needs to gear up to either fight or flight or flee, In either of these instances, what your body is going to do is send its energy out into your muscles. It's going to increase your heart rate, your respiratory rate. It's going to do all of these things to gear up so that it can fight or flee. Now, evolutionarily, right? In evolutionary, thinking about humans and how we developed and why, this made sense when we had to run from lions or, fight neighboring communities, things like that. We were able to use these two tactics. In day-to-day society, however, fighting or fleeing to everyday stressors isn't really necessary or appropriate. So sometimes we can get stuck in this stress response cycle because the next part of it, once fighting or fleeing has happened, the body is able to go into rest and digest. This basically just means your body is cued into the fact that it is now physically safe to rest, okay? Rest and digest basically means, all of that energy went out into the muscles, into the arms and the legs to work. Basically means the energy moves back into the internal organs, into the day-to-day processes, into normal functioning. This is the 3-point stress response cycle. We often get caught up in this stress response cycle because We are focused more on managing the stressors, not on managing the stress in the body. So if we take an example, say you have to have a difficult conversation with a spouse or a good friend, right? That conversation is going to be a stressor. But once you have it, once you finally have that conversation, that stress is no longer building up in your body, right? You've done it, you've done the thing, it's now over. However, just because there's not additional stress building, you've managed the stressor, that stressor is now done with, that conversation still built up a level of stress in your body. Having the conversation is not enough to remove the stress that has already been built up from that experience. So, when we think about stress management techniques, we need to think about cueing to the body, hey, it's okay. You are allowed to go into rest and digest. You're allowed to come back into a sense of calm. And this is kind of regardless of whether or not you have or you haven't managed the stressor, right? Managing the stressor just means you don't have additional stress building up, but you still need to take care of the stress that has already been built up till now. So to add a little bit more context to these terms of fight or flight, rest and digest, etc., we can look at the nervous system, and this should be fresh in mind. We talked about all of this last week. But the nervous system is like a tree. We have this nice tree diagram here, but also if you look in the body, it almost looks like a tree's roots and branches flowing all through you. And it can be very beautiful in that way. So the nervous system splits into two main sections, one for the brain and spinal cord, one for all of the nerves coming out of the brain and spinal cord. Okay. So this peripheral nervous system, where all the nerves are, is what we're interested in. One branch of the peripheral nervous system is the autonomic system. Alrighty. This basically means more of the control of the automatic or involuntary functions. Here we find two subsystems called the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. How many times can I say system in 3 minutes? I'm not sure. We will see. So when we think about the stress response cycle, we see that what's really happening is a stressor activates the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, and then the parasympathetic system, which is in charge of rest and digest, is activated. So when we think about stress management, right, and cueing to our body that we are safe, it is okay to relax, what we're really focused on is activating the parasympathetic nervous system, right? This is what we want to be focused on so that our body can feel a sense of safety and calm. And as we talked about last week, we are able to do this through the vagus nerve. Now, I just talked a lot. I do want to pause here and see if anyone has any questions up until this point. Awesome. All righty. So the vagus nerve, as we talked about last week, vagus means wandering in Latin, okay? And we see how, if you look at the diagram here, this is kind of like a mustard colored diagram. You see this mustard colored line goes all throughout the body, okay? It connects into the heart, into the lungs, into the internal organs. It's doing all this stuff. And when we're able to activate the vagus nerve, we're able to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system, right? When we can do this, what do? We cue that it is rest and digest time, that we are out of fight or flight, and we can get into a sense of physical safety, okay? So I had a request last week in the chat. Someone messaged me privately and asked to talk more about vagal tone. Okay, so to refresh, we briefly just grazed over this last week. Vagal tone essentially refers to how easily it is to activate your vagus nerve. Okay, so we know that the vagus nerve, is a nerve, but let's think of it almost as a metaphor for a second, and like it's a muscle. You want to be able to increase your vagal tone almost like you would strengthen a muscle, right? You want to strengthen this vagal tone, practice activating it so it becomes stronger and stronger. When you have a higher vagal tone, it's easier to let your body know that it's safe to relax, right? It takes less time for you to go from fight or flight to rest and digest. So the higher your vagal tone, the easier it is to tell your body, hey, we are okay, we are safe. We don't have to stay in frazzled, stressed, oh my goodness, oh my gosh mode. Okay. So the following stress management techniques that we're going to go over are all different ways that you can increase vagal tone. These are going to be a review of the different things that we have talked about over the past 3 weeks. I forgot how many weeks, 3 weeks. And just so you know, at the end of this, I'm going to give you a link to a sheet that lists out all of these different stress management techniques that you will be able to download and keep for yourself. So I know it's a lot of information and there's going to be a lot of different techniques you can use, but just know you're going to have them all in a summary sheet at the end so that you can, take them with you and experiment and play with them on your own time too. So there are three main categories of ways we can activate the vagus nerve, increase vagal tone. The first one is physical. Now, if you remember, research has shown that physical movement, any kind of exercise, is the single best way to cue to your body you are safe and to release stress. So 20 to 60 minutes is generally what is recommended, but movement doesn't have to necessarily be exercise, right? Because exercise isn't necessarily accessible to everyone. And some people, just don't like exercising, and that is okay. So it can be some kind of movement, whether that's yoga, stretching, going on a walk. If even these things aren't things that you like to do, or you have injuries or arthritis and things like that, there are still other ways you can use your physical body to come back into a sense of de-stressing and peace. So two of them that sound really similar and are very similar are progressive muscular relaxation and progressive neuromuscular relaxation. Okay. Now, we have done both of these already in our hypnosis sessions. Progressive muscular relaxation is what we do when, I've told you to imagine yourself in a peaceful place in nature, right? And then we start scanning through your body and you release the muscles in your eyes and your lips and your shoulders and your arms. You can also do that on your own time, just taking a moment to breathe and just going through each part of your body, scanning and releasing any tension. That is a great way to, again, come into this physical sense of calm. If you want to take it up a notch, you can do progressive neuromuscular relaxation. What this is what we did week 2, okay? If you remember in the beginning of that hypnosis session, I had you tense your muscles. Like you had to kind of pump your biceps for 5 seconds and then you're allowed to release them, right? This just takes it a level deeper where you strain the muscles just for a bit and then allow them to completely relax. So, if you wanted to bring in a stress management technique around one of these things, and let's say you only had 5 to 10 minutes, you could always come into, the Woman to Woman workshop library, find one of those recordings from this 4-week session and just do the first 5 to 7 minutes of them, right? You don't have to do the whole hypnosis session. You can just do the progressive muscular or neuromuscular relaxation. So those two are also available to you. And then the last one is diaphragmatic breathing. All right. We talked about this last week as well. This basically just means exhaling longer than you inhale. So the counts that we've always been doing at the beginning of our hypnosis sessions are breathing in for 4, holding it for 2, and exhaling for 6. And really pushing all of the air out of your system, doing that big, deep inhale has been shown to activate the vagus nerve, come into a sense of calm. Doing 5 to 10 rounds of this a day is a really great way to increase your vagal tone and release stress from your body. So those are the physical mechanisms. Does anyone have any questions on those before I move on? Cool. All right, next is social. All right, and this kind of goes into polyvagal theory. If you remember us talking about that last week. So Dr. Stephen Porges, a researcher, professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, right down the road from me, developed this polyvagal theory that basically shows that we have this social engagement system that helps us determine whether we are safe or in danger. Right? we can use the system to our benefit to help us come into, deeper senses of calm and peacefulness, right? So this looks like tuning in more deeply into different facial or auditory cues around you. If you're at a noisy party, at a noisy dinner, and it's hard to maybe hear people or tune into the person you're talking to, what they recommend is going somewhere quieter so it's easier for the micro muscles in your ears to pick up on human voices. They found that that is a great way to activate the safe place in this social engagement system. They've also found that expressing yourself with more animation, smiling more, using more of your facial muscles, right? This can all be very helpful in, decreasing any kind of sense of stress and coming back into a sense of calm. Now, other pieces here, laughter, affection, right? These are things that, in an auditory sense, laughter is going to cue to you, oh, we're laughing, we must be safe. But it's also activating your diaphragm, activating your vagus nerve. In affection, we talked about, the 6-second kiss if you have a partner or loved one, or a 20-second hug. Long, intentional moments of affection that, don't necessarily have to be so long, but maybe longer than you would normally do to really drop into your body and show that you are safe and you can rest. So, those are some of the social cues. If you're interested in more of that, then last week's recording will be great for you because that's really what we go deep into. And then the last piece here, mental and emotional ways to cope with stress. So, for starters, we have creative expression. This can really be anything: writing poetry, dancing, painting, drawing. And you don't have to be good at it. Like, there's no requirement for you to be stellar at these things. But taking some time, especially if it is something physical like painting or dancing, or for some people, yoga can even feel creative. This taps you out of the stress part of your brain and into the more creative, flowy parts, right? Meditation, we've talked a lot about being very helpful for managing stress. Same with mindfulness. Now, when we think of mindfulness, this relates more so to managing any negative thoughts, right? When we talked about stressors, we saw that stressors can be external or internal, and internal stressors can be negative thoughts that then elicit that fight or flight response, right? Any kind of anxiousness, honestly, or fears about the future, things like that. Mindfulness is a practice of looking at those thoughts and becoming aware of them, questioning them, observing them, rather than following them down every single rabbit hole and spiral. So it's about creating that as a practice. And I just like to mention it because it is a way to cope with any of the internal stressors. And it's another practice you can bring in. In the sheet that I'll link to you in one of the next slides, there are some additional resources you can use to find other meditations and mindfulness information, just And the last piece is hypnosis. Now, you guys have all been experiencing hypnosis over the past few weeks, I'm sure, but I do just want to do a quick recap because I know we had a lot more people in weeks 2 and 3, but not week 1, where we did a deep dive on hypnosis. So, just quickly, hypnosis is a few things that most people wouldn't associate with it. So, first off, it's a normal and natural state. Even if you haven't been formally hypnotized, if this is your first week here in this stress management program, even if you haven't been formally hypnotized, you've probably experienced hypnosis in the past. Classic times that you might have been in a hypnotic state would be if you're driving home on the same route that you do every day from work, right? You might find yourself kind of zoned out. Next thing you know, you're home and you're like, wow, I don't even remember driving home, right? That is a very common experience in the hypnotic state. So it's something most people have experienced. And with this, I really like to mention that it's a state of consciousness. In hypnosis, you are awake and aware, right? And I really like to mention this because it is a great rebuttal to, a lot of those weird kind of myths like, is hypnosis mind control? Am I going to do things I wouldn't normally do in hypnosis? The answer to those things is both no, absolutely not. As you would have experienced if you've been here the past few weeks, when you're in hypnosis, your conscious mind is still alert. Like you're still awake. You're just a lot more relaxed and it's a little easier to go with the flow. So you still have full awareness in hypnosis. And I think it's just so great to emphasize that because it gives people a better sense of safety and control when they go into this as a new experience. So, and this is just a quick review from last week. So, I, as a hypnotist, like to define hypnosis as a deep guided meditation because that's honestly kind of what it feels like. You're in meditation, but it's easier to focus and it's a lot more immersive and vivid, right? It's just taking meditation and going deeper and normally putting some kind of outcome like managing stress, feeling inner peace with it. So, meditative states have been shown to do a lot of stuff: increase positive feelings, reduce fight or flight, right? Taking down the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, decrease inflammation in the body. This is really important when, you might experience a chronic illness or you just want to, cultivate a better sense of wellness. And then lastly, they've done research specifically with vagal tone and hypnosis, and they've seen that hypnosis, they've connected it directly to increased vagal tone, which kind of just mimics exactly what is said 2 bullet points up. It reduces the fight or flight activity and increases the activity of the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, body is calm, all of that. So that is our recap, our sort of flash through the past 3 weeks together. We're going to get into the hypnosis part in a minute, but I want to open up the floor now. Do you guys have any questions about any of that? Anything you want to mention before we continue? Awesome. Well, let's get into it. All right. Well, actually, one little piece before we jump into hypnosis. These are also going to be listed on the sheet if you decide you want to use that as a way to just summarize everything. I want you to start thinking about 2 different things of how you can begin applying all of this into your life. The first part is about managing chronic stressors, okay? So looking at all of this, we talked about probably like 15 different stress management techniques. I just want you to think, what are 1 to 3? You can just choose one, you can choose a few that you really want to think about adding into your day-to-day life, right? Pick a few that have piqued your interest and then look at your schedule and see, is there a place where I already have some free time where I can, take 1.5 to 3 minutes to do diaphragmatic breathing each day? Or maybe 1 to 2 times a week, I want to do one of these hypnosis recordings, right? Thinking about your schedule, thinking about your day-to-day life, what do you want to add in to help manage any of the lingering chronic stress of so many different factors of life that can kind of increase that weight and that pressure? And then I also want you to think about having a game plan for the next time you have some kind of acute stressor, right? Something that's a little bit more short term, easily managed, but still causing stress. So I want you to think, next time you're feeling that stress rise up in your body, what do you specifically want to use? Do you want to take 5 minutes away and do progressive muscle relaxation? Do you want to, watch a funny video on YouTube, get some laughter in there and enjoy yourself? So I just want you to think of these things. And this kind of goes along with like a lot of my coaching work is all about helping people actually integrate this stuff into their life. So you have these questions, they're going to be on this form here, and I'm going to send the link to this in the chat. So if you just copy and paste what I just sent in the chat, it will take you to a sheet that outlines all of the different stress management techniques that we talked about. It has the reflection questions at the end. I can bring up this link again after the hypnosis session, but I just wanted you guys to have this as a full summary of everything you've learned from the past 4 weeks. Alrighty. So any questions on that before we get into hypnosis?
Emma, can you also just, can you send it to me in an email too, if you don't
Absolutely.
mind, the document as well as the link? And if
Yes.
anyone is not able to get it, you can just reach out to me directly and I will send it to you.
Perfect. Yes, I will send you that right after this session. Awesome. All righty, so you guys know the drill. Now we're going to get into some of the just hypnosis monologue portions and we're going to go into hypnosis itself. So Before we begin, does anyone, especially if you weren't here last week, does anyone have any questions about hypnosis or what you can expect in the hypnosis session today? Awesome. All right. As you know, this is my hypnosis disclaimer that I share with all of my clients. What it is essentially saying is hypnosis is not a treatment or a substitute for any kind of physical, medical, or psychological attention or treatment. It is simply a supplement and a process using relaxation, visual imagery, creative visualization, and stress reduction processes for vocational or avocational self-improvement. So I really just like to emphasize this is not a treatment or a replacement for anything you're already doing. So if I could have everyone just give me verbal confirmation of this, like we've done the past few weeks, and unmute yourself and just say yes as confirmation, that would be great.
Yes.
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 Awesome,
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started in just a moment. So I'm going to stop my screen share. Like I always say, I recommend getting into a comfortable position, if possible, with your head and neck supported. If that's not possible, no worries at all. It's just a way to get a little bit more relaxed. While you're in the session, you are in complete control. Okay. I really like to emphasize this. So if if I say to see yourself at your dream vacation home and you just want to see yourself in your normal room at home, you can do that. Take yourself where you want to go. You have full autonomy and control in this session. Number two, if you need to shift yourself or scratch your nose or do anything in the hypnosis session, all of that's completely fine. This is all about you getting as relaxed as possible. So if, scratching your head, moving around will help you get more relaxed, do it. You have my full permission and encouragement. Last one. In the session, you might notice a few physical sensations. You might notice a sense of heaviness, like you're melting into relaxation and peacefulness. Or you might feel a sense of lightness, almost like you are floating, okay? All of these are totally normal experiences in hypnosis. I just like to give you a heads up so you know what to experience. So otherwise, that is about it. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? Awesome, awesome. All righty. Well, we will go ahead and get started then. So to begin, go ahead and get comfortable, shifting in your seat however you need, just relaxing. And when you're ready, you can close your eyes. We'll just start by taking a few deep breaths. So I'd like you to take a deep inhale in for 4. Hold it for 2. And exhale for 6. And another deep inhale for 4. Hold for 2. And exhale for 6. One last time, deep inhale for 4. Hold for 2. And exhale for 6. Good, good. We're about to embark on a co-creative journey using your vivid imagination. All you need to do is listen to the sound of my voice and pay attention to the different images and visualizations you see in your mind's eye. So, to begin, I'd like you to see yourself in your dream vacation home. This might be a mountain house or maybe a beach house you've been to in the past. Or it might be one that you just dream up here in your mind's eye. You find yourself in a comfortable room. There are big picture windows. Maybe there's a fire crackling. And as you look out the windows, You notice that it's fall. You notice that the leaves have begun to change and they're bright and red, orange, and yellow. Maybe you find yourself sitting on a comfortable couch or a recliner with a warm mug in your hand. Maybe there's a candle burning nearby and you smell soft fragrances, feeling so calm and so relaxed. You just take in some of the details of this place, the soft, plush texture of whatever you're sitting on, the colors, and maybe the art hanging in the room. Maybe you even feel the warmth of the sun on your skin as it shines through the window. Regardless of where you are, you just feel so good and so relaxed. And this sense of relaxation just begins to move through your body as you're here in this calming dream vacation home. You feel this sense of peace just flowing through from the top of your head. So you relax the crown of your head, you release your eyebrows and your forehead, you relax your eyes and your eyelids. A sense of peacefulness moves down your cheeks, relaxing your lips, releasing your jaw. Your whole face just feels so good, so relaxed. And this sense of peacefulness moves down your neck. You relax your neck and your throat. You feel this calm just move down your arms, starting with your shoulders, relaxing your upper arm, moving down to your elbow, your forearms. Maybe you even feel the sense of calm, relaxation just pool in the palms of your hands. And it extends out past the tips of your fingers. Your whole upper body just feels so good and so relaxed. This sense of peacefulness now moves down your chest and your back, with your chest relaxing all the way down to your abdomen, all the tiny micro muscles in your stomach. You feel as this sense of calm and peacefulness moves down your legs. You feel your thighs relax, to your knees, to the front of your calf, and the back of your calf, all the way out to the bottoms of your feet. Maybe for a moment, it even feels like there's a vacuum, just sucking out any remaining tension from the bottoms of your feet. You feel so good, so calm, and so completely relaxed. Good, good. And you find yourself again noticing the details of this dream vacation home. And as you look outside the big picture windows, maybe you notice a soft breeze blowing. And as the breeze blows by, it just takes a few of the leaves from the tree with it. You see them dance around in the air, swirling in colors of green, red, and orange. You find yourself just becoming more and more relaxed as you watch these leaves just dangle and fall gracefully from the tree. In a few moments, I'm going to count from 10 to 1. And at the count of 1, you'll feel so totally, completely relaxed. And with each count, you'll notice another leaf or group of leaves falling from the tree. You'll find yourself just drifting deeper and deeper into relaxation. So 10, noticing as a red maple leaf just falls from a tree outside. 9, maybe noticing the sun shining through the leaves so beautifully. 8, just going deeper and deeper, feeling so relaxed. 7, watching some golden yellow leaves just flutter and dance in the wind. 6, feeling so good and so relaxed here in this vacation home. 5, 4, just going deeper and deeper. 3, feeling so comfortable and so at peace. 2, watching as another leaf drifts deeper and deeper down, all the way to 1, feeling so good, so calm, and so completely relaxed. Good, good. Now that you are feeling so calm and so relaxed, your subconscious mind is ready to receive new, empowering suggestions about managing stress and feeling more peaceful in your life. So, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to see yourself in your own private park. You see acres and acres of greenery spread out in front of you and to your right and left. You realize it's just at the cusp of spring. Some plants are in bloom, while others have only just begun to sprout new growth and buds. You feel right at home here. This private park was made just for you. You start to walk around, exploring. You feel the gentle warmth of the sun on your face and neck. You see small animals hop around in the distance. You sense old, wise trees all around you. Maybe you even walk up to one and feel its cool, rough bark. You feel a positive energy and strength pour into you from any of the trees nearby. You seem to gain a sense of confidence and calm in this place, feeling so connected to nature and its wisdom. As you walk through your park, you feel and hear the crunch of leaves under your feet. Maybe you see a butterfly, a bright blue one, flutter in the distance onto a vibrant, blooming flower. Everything in here seems to be in harmony, at peace, and you are too. So a few yards away, you see a small building, almost like a little clubhouse for the park. Curious, you begin to walk towards it. Notice what the building is made of. Is it brick? Maybe wood? Steel? You see that it has beautiful, big windows, and the door to the building is your favorite color. As you get closer, you notice that on the door there's a plaque with your name on it. Interesting. you think. You decide to go in and check it out. So when you open the door, you see a control room of sorts inside. You take a moment to notice how it looks. Maybe it appears with all new appliances, everything stainless steel. Maybe it looks like it's out of a sci-fi movie almost. Either way, you notice different lights around you, switches, levers, and buttons. It's all complex, but it also gives you a sense of control in your life because you realize this is the control room of your mind. In this place, you are able to modify the way you feel about certain things in your life. As you walk around, you realize this is the seat of your consciousness. It's where you decide how you feel about people, opportunities, experiences, and emotions, and how you respond to them. In the past, you may have looked at things in your life that have caused you more stress than needed. Or maybe you had a lot on your plate, and it was easy for you to become stressed with your busy schedule. I don't know what your exact situation is with stress, but I do know you are coming here to live a more peaceful, empowered life with feelings of calm as a priority. You are ready to make these changes today. So I want you to walk over to a lever in this control room. You see that this lever is pushed all the way up high, maybe even to 100. Above the lever, you see the letter S, and you realize that this S represents stress. Underneath the S is another word, and maybe that word spells out or reminds you of one of the main stressors in your life right now. Take a moment to allow your mind to show you what this main stressor is, or simply bring it to mind now. Good, good. And you see how your stress around this thing or situation in your life is turned all the way up. And you realize that this thing, no matter what it is or how it makes you feel, does not need to have power over you and your emotions. In this peaceful place, you decide to take a moment to find empowerment over this stressor. And as you do, you pull the lever down, minimizing the feelings of stress that this situation has over you. As you pull the lever further and further down, you feel more calm. Your body feels life and more light, and you sense your own power. You know you are in control, and you have decided today that external situations do not control your happiness. So take a moment to pull the lever down fully and feel the lightness and freedom enter your body. Good, good. And feeling inspired, you begin to look around the control room for other levers representing old stressors in your life. And maybe instead of levers, you see on and off switches, maybe dials that you turn down. Whatever it is, just take a few moments now to turn down the volume and intensity of any other situations that have been stressful in the past. As you do, you feel your sense of control, agency, and calm in your body increase. Take some time to do this now. Good, good. And you realize that any time you feel stress begin to build in the future, you can simply return to this control room of your mind. Turn down any levers, dials, or switches, and remember that you are confident, calm, and in control in your life. Now that you're done turning down stress dials and levers, you look through the window out into your park. You see that with the stress turned down, the park is even more vibrant than before. The colors are richer, the flowers are all in bloom, the green trees are full of leaves. Springtime has fully bloomed, and you too are coming fully into your own life in radiant energy, feeling so calm and so peaceful. You find this sense of peacefulness growing every day and in every way. Old stressors melt away, and now you respond to situations with more calm than in the past. You trust yourself to manage whatever comes into your life, and you feel lighter as you walk through this park and through your life. And in the coming days, you'll feel this inner lightness growing. The sense of positivity and peace grows more and more each day. And in the future, you can always take a breath and return to this private park in your mind, finding again this sense of lightness and peace. Good. So in a few moments, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. At the count of 5, you'll open your eyes, feeling refreshed, awake, and rejuvenated, fully at peace. So 1, 2, beginning to move slightly in your body. 3, wiggling your fingers and toes. 4, just fluttering your eyelids now. And 5, eyes wide open, feeling completely awake, refreshed, and at peace. Alrighty, take your time. Good morning, hello. Alrighty, and whenever you are feeling a little bit more back into it, I see some stretches happening. I love that. If anyone would like to share with me, with the group, what are some things you felt in that? There's no pressure to share, but if anyone would like to, feel free. And if anyone needs to drop off, I know we're at 12:30. Please feel free.
I can't tell if that's background noise or if someone's trying to.
I see that you've raised your hand. Do you want to go ahead?
It was such an awesome experience, Emma. I feel so soothed.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that.
I really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much. I needed that.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. That makes me so happy.
Wow.
I reiterate said, and yeah, I'm my language hasn't come back online, but I do feel very relaxed and very thoughtful, which I haven't been able to connect with for a while.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here and for your presence. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. Oh, this was great. I think it's given me a foundation for moving forward. I go to acupuncturist. I had been using the breathing 4 to 6 during acupuncture, and it's great.
Nice.
But what you did today is something that I can also incorporate at home. And I love the visualization. It took me a while. I couldn't figure out whether I wanted to be in Jamaica, upstate New York.
Yep. That happens to me sometimes too. I'm like, oh, it has to be perfect. What is it going to be?
But it's awesome. Thank you, and thank you for the feedback. I don't mean the feedback. The sheets you provided to us.
Yeah. Yes, and like Rachel said, I'll send that to her, and she'll send it out to you.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Alrighty, well, thank you guys. To sum up our session today, in our last 4 weeks, goodness, coming to an end. You guys are now experts on stress. Okay, you can go out and teach the world. Stress is a lot more than you think it is, but there's also a lot of different ways you can manage it. So you're leaving with an understanding of stress, a lot of different techniques to play with, experiment with, find what works for you. And of course, you have these different hypnosis recordings to do on your own time that Rachel, I know, will be put in like the workshop library. Awesome. So yeah, I would love to keep in touch with you guys. So I have my email here. It's hello@authenticityremastered.com. If you're curious, I do private and group sessions. If you want to work more on stress management, or you have something else coming up in your life that you're curious if hypnosis could be used for, please reach out. I'd love to talk with you and see if it could be a fit. And if you like hypnosis recordings, I didn't put this on, this slide or anything, but I do have a collection of 28 different hypnosis recordings that I offer through a membership program. So if you're ever interested in something like that, don't be afraid to email me. I can send you more information. But otherwise, I'm just so grateful that I get to do this work with you guys. It's just, I have so much fun doing it. And thank you for being here for the past 4 weeks.
Thank you so much, Emma. It has been an amazing journey, not just with you, but with everyone who has attended. It's been so wonderful that we've had, some of the same people attend all 4 sessions. Some people do a few of them and some people just do one. And I think no matter what you've chosen or been able to do, it's been valuable. And as I think Josette said, these are tools we can really walk away. I feel like you've given us a toolkit filled with a variety of different instruments that we can use in different settings. The one I keep thinking about is the hug, and that's simple. And,
Right.
As much, little things that we can do and incorporate into our lives, and laughter and, obviously the hypnosis. So it's really been amazing. You have such passion for the work that you do. You are such an expert at it. We have learned so much from you, and we are so grateful for this experience. For all of you who are on, we have a lot of great stuff. This is going to be a really tough one to top. We have a lot of great stuff coming up in April, which begins tomorrow. And especially please take note of our reunion, which is on April 9th in the morning. And that's going to be all about herbs. Lots of really interesting information. You should have gotten the blast, but if you want to come and get your free gardening kit to do a planting experience live, please register ASAP so we can send it to you. And Emma, of course, you are invited to join us also.
Wow, dang, I can use
So
that.
it's going to be great. But thank you all again for being here, for this community that we've created over the last few weeks, and we look forward to engaging you in other activities over the coming months. Stay safe, everyone. Hope you are less stressed, more calm. And thank you again, Emma, for everything.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Emma and Rachel. Thank you.
So
Thank you.